and then we get into some questions and answers. But we'll talk about the questions and answers as we go along. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, please type in the chat box. All right, looks like everybody can hear me now. Thanks very much. Talk a little bit about the company. The company is called National Comfort Products, and their location is in Bensalem, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Philadelphia. They've been around since 1987, and they're part of a much larger company. But they have very sophisticated machinery out there, metal fabricating equipment, robotic brakes, a Salvagnini punch, to make return grills and things like that. In the picture itself is a coil machine, and also they have state-of-the-art tooling too to charge the units, to do leak checking and metal processing for painting and such. This all relates to a very high-quality piece of equipment that you can have confidence in and a good warranty. In Chicagoland and other places across the country, there's just a small smattering of what we have available. There is one in Chicago, one of the locations down on the south side, the Mayor David B. Webb facility. There's also another job up in Vernon Hills called Victory Center. These are all senior assisted living facilities. Also at the National University of Health Sciences here up in Chicago, and many other places along the East Coast, Southeast, and all across the country. These are just a small sampling of what some of the locations they had done work at. Now let's talk a little bit about the multifamily market. The multifamily market was kind of down back when we had the crash. The single-family market was going along pretty well, but multifamily, you can see there in 08, 09, and 10 was down. But now there's a very large upswing in multifamily. People have to find some place to live, so if they can't afford new homes or they can't get a mortgage, they're going to have to move into apartments. And we have seen a large amount of bidding in the senior assisted living facilities too, in the new construction side of things. This is just housing starts, though. There really isn't any kind of statistics as far as replacement market. And if you've ever been around the central U.S. or Chicagoland in particular, if you kind of look up on some of these multifamilies, I bet you probably 50% of them have these through-the-wall type of units. The market is huge. There's thousands and thousands of them out there. So when you think about where we can use these units, think about the residential new construction or multifamily new construction, and also the replacement market too. National Comfort Products is 100% focused on the multifamily market since 1989. Excuse me, not 1987. They market through worldwide distribution of wholesalers and distributors, of which Excelsior is the only stocking distributor in the greater Atlanta, Chicago area. They're committed to advanced research and development to continue to develop products using the latest technology. They have many, many new products coming on board, some of which you'll see on their website and some of which we can talk about at a later time. Through-the-wall units, many, many applications. You can see some in high-rise condominiums. You can see some in garden apartments. I've seen these in condominiums 20, 30 stories tall. So it need not be limited by the height of the building. Like we said before, retirement villages are a place where these are becoming very, very popular since they're all self-contained, and you don't need to run the refrigerant lines or anything like that. So it's very easy to put in and very easy to design around. And even in luxury townhomes. Some of the luxury townhomes you see in some of the New York areas are putting these in. But they're perfect for motel and hotel suites and also student housing. Anywhere, really, that space or security is a concern. Because security is a big thing. You have a condensing unit outside where that's vulnerable to theft, especially with the need for copper nowadays. Currently, the energy standard market for split systems, and they have a split system and a package unit, is at 12 SEER. And also for the comfort pack, those are the package units, it's 9 EER. But those are going up in the future. And also that the ART410A market has reached the comfort packs too. The DOE has given the package Thru-the-Wall manufacturers a little bit of leeway on the 13 SEER split systems versus the residential stick-built homes, but that's catching up pretty soon too. So you will see more 13 SEER coming out. You will see 90% gas furnace or package units coming out because of the May 13th deadline for installations around the country. Let's talk about the split systems first, and they do also have a heat pump line. So this goes for split system condensers and heat pumps. But there's 3 different capacities. There's a 1.5 ton, 2 ton, and 2.5 ton. You really don't need any more than that in multifamily if you've ever done any multifamily work, because there's not a lot of outside walls, not a lot of infiltration. So 2.5 ton is probably the largest you're going to need. Now I will say that you also need an air handler because these are split systems, so there is a need for an inside and an outside unit. They have 3 different cabinet sizes to fit different applications, different window styles. They're 1000 series, they're 3000 series, and they're 4000 series. Again, you can see that the widths are the only one that's a little different, widths and heights, depending on the window placement, because these would be through the windows, or not always through the windows, but they could be off to the side in the patio. This is a picture of the units, and you can see on the right-hand side a spec sheet, which is on their website, which I'll give you on the last slide here. But you can see that these are split systems with Tecumseh compressors, condensing units, and a blower section for the condenser coil. This is a spec sheet also for their 1000, 3000, and 4000, and it's highlighted just the dimensions there for you. So if you see some of these in an application, an existing application, there are different sizes to match existing units out there. This spec sheet also gives the liquid and vapor line sizes for you in case you have to replace those. But again, these are our 410A. A little bit about customization. Customizing is very easy to do for National Comfort products. You can see an existing unit, the picture in the middle there, an existing building. It looks like they had some of these through-the-wall condensers, and it looks like some of them went out, and they replaced some with some regular residential condensing units. But they have kind of a long line set there, which could be a target for theft, or it doesn't really look that good on the outside of a building. You can see on the left picture that the unit that was replaced was a much larger unit, and on the right picture is more of a finished off style, or here's what the finished unit looks like. So they can create, for existing units, National Comfort products can create cover sheets for you, so it looks very fit and finish. So again, these are the condensing units. Need an indoor unit to match up with it, and they have them in heat pump and straight air conditioning condensing units also. Talk a little bit about the comfort packs. The comfort packs are the packaged units. This is what you see mostly in replacements. The package units go in 3 sizes, 38,000, 51,000, and 64,000 BTU heating capacity, and these are 80%. These are the CPG units for comfort product or comfort pack gas. They have electric models, CPE units, which are comfort pack electric in 5 kW, 10 kW, and 15 kW heats. Again, you don't need much more than that for multifamily work. Cooling capacities are in 4 tons. You do see a 1-ton unit now through 2.5 tons. 1-ton units are more popular on center units with with just maybe one outside wall, whereas the 2.5-ton units you might see in a corner size. Now, I want to make one point here that these are through-the-wall units, not through-the-deck units. So if you're ever getting involved in one of these, we can help you. And I would think this looks more like a food warmer for summer picnics with the condensed hot air condensing unit coming out the top. But this was an actual unit, but they are not through-the-deck units. They are through-the-wall units. These are spec sheets that you can see. These are downloadable on their website at www.nationalcomfortproducts.com. It lists their 2-page spec sheets. We'll see one a little bit later on, which list the capacity, the energy requirements, dimensional data, and things like that. And like I said, this picture here is in multi-story buildings, but I've seen these in many other places. And normally as you're driving by, you can see them in the walls here. You can see them right here, or sometimes on the patios right over here. So look for those as you're driving down the interstates. You can see where they are, right there, or sometimes right there. They're usually out on the patio. A little bit about them. They're completely self-contained heating and cooling package, like we talked about. So they are very easy to spec, very easy to put in, and they are very easy to start up. Don't have a lot of problems. So they're very, very popular in the multi-family new construction market. Again, heating capacity is up to 64,000 BTUs and up to 15 kW for electric heat. They're pre-wired and pre-charged, so no charging out in the field, and you don't need any outside condenser or refrigerant lines, so you have much more security. Removable chassis. This chassis down on the bottom is removable down here, and what a lot of people do is if they have to take this up to multiple stories, this chassis is removable that they can take out. They just bring the burner section, which is on top, and the fan up in one trip, and then they also bring the condensing unit and the cooling section up in the next trip, and then they put it together upstairs. So that's one little reason that you can kind of split this up. It's easier to put in that way for existing units. It does have a patented furnace system, which we'll talk about here a little later on. The gas and electric, like we said, they're newer units. They've extended the depth on it to get a little higher energy efficiency rating, a little better airflow for the filter and cooling coil. Their C models, the CPG C models, are 9 EER, and their E models, the ECM models that have a DC motor, are 9.5 EER. They can come with a slotted filter door. Sometimes you see these units backed up to an inside wall, and then you might want a slotted filter door for the return air. Normally the return air is on the bottom. Normally the return air is coming off the bottom here, but sometimes if you want to have a return air in the unit or in the structure itself, you can do that through the back. Here is a list of replacements, and I do want to make up the point that these CPG units are direct replacements for the Magic Pack, the HWCs. This cross-reference chart is on their website, but the physical dimensions, the height, the width, and the depth, the location of the electrical junction box, the gas, electric, the supply and return air are all exact replacements. So if you've got a complex that you have some Magic Packs and you need an alternative, you can talk to one of our Excelsior branches and you can get a quote on it. But there'll be no other modifications that you'll have to make. Question came up about, do these units have charging ports? Yes, they do. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I've got that in a follow-up slides. These are the dimensions, and again, the height, width, and the depths are exactly the same as the Magic Packs, the electric, the gas, the supply air, the return air down here. They are exactly the same as the Magic Packs. So if you want a Magic Pack alternative, this would be your choice. It also has one of the nice features about this Magic Pack, I'm sorry, the CPG that others don't have, is a secondary drain. You wouldn't want the primary drain to get clogged and have water running all over a patio, leaking down to other people, or if this is inside, you wouldn't want to have water running into the conditioned space, because these units are obviously not in basements with drains. So one of the nice things is that this unit has a secondary condensate drain for you, and that will catch any water as it drains out. And you can see that here. You can see that the secondary drain is a little bit above where the primary drain is, and that will, if there is a clog from dust or dirt or whatever in the primary drain, as the water rises, it goes out to the secondary drain, and then that goes out to the base of the unit, and that base of the unit goes out to the outside. Here is the question about the charging ports. These units have two charging ports, high and low side. Most of the others out there have just one charging port, and these are CoreMax charging ports, so you have a higher flow rate, so you can evacuate or charge faster. And that would really come in handy as far as less time spent in the customer's apartment or condo. You don't want to spend a lot of time in there. And also, it has a greater integrity as far as sealing. They'll have less leaks. But there are two suction and discharge ports here. The wall sleeve itself, if you have an existing unit, the wall sleeve need not be replaced, but for a new construction, you need to replace the wall sleeve. And on the right-hand side there, bottom right, there's a little exploded view of the wall sleeve. So you can see that the wall sleeve goes together first. It gets bolted into the wall and gets caulked and sealed up. And then the CPG unit slides right into there. And on the upper right, you can see where the CPG unit connects to the wall sleeve with a little rubber grommet to provide some vibration isolation. You can also see this does hang out, and usually people have some sort of return air on the bottom. I have a few pictures that you can see some of the return air on the bottom, and then the supply air would come out the top also. Now there are some grill options. The grill on the standard unit, you saw some of the grills on the standard unit on previous slides, but they can also make architectural grills with satin finish, an architectural grill that just covers the unit, or an architectural grill that covers the sleeve, which is the most popular because that presents one face to the outside. And also you can get painted architectural grills, depending on the architect, or if you're replacing a unit that has siding that you want to match. And also on the return grill too, you can get that painted. So there's many different choices you have for the grills. This is a picture of what the grill looks like, and this is an architectural grill. It looks like this grill is just covering the unit itself, but if you want to get an architectural grill that covers the sleeve, that would come over here, so it would just be a much nicer finish to that. But that choice is up to you. I've seen these units with fresh air, just a little fresh air louver underneath that's mixed with the return air. So you can have that option in case you have some code requirements that you're trying to meet. Also in this picture you can see where the weep holes are down there. You can see where the weep holes are, so you can see where some of the condensate does come out. This is one of the ones in Oakshire Apartments, and this is in Reading, PA. But you can see here what the units look like. So as you're driving down the street, that is in a complex with through-the-wall units that you can use the CPG units on. A couple advantages with the cooling chassis: easy access service ports. Service ports are accessible by the front. You don't need to go around the side. Molex wire connections. They are not spade connections like some people have. So it's a Molex connection that snaps out, all the wires snap out. So if you want to pull out the chassis, everything's accessible to you. A fan interlock switch on the filter access panel, obviously for safety reasons. And a 5-year limited warranty on the parts. Let's take a little bit closer look at the cooling chassis. You can see the charging ports right here. An easy plug assembly if you want to take out the compressor. It is a benchmark compressor. High efficiency aluminum fins, copper tube coils. You can see the muffler and the filter dryer on the side. And like I said before, the whole chassis is removable. If you need to take this unit up 3 or 4 stories and it's very heavy, you can take out the cooling chassis and just bring in the heat exchanger with some of the control compartments. This is the opposite side, and you can see here the permanently lubricated PSC motor for the cooling. For the condensing side, the vane axial condenser fan, and the centrifugal blower, and some of the Molex connections to remove the cooling chassis from the unit itself. This is a dimensional drawing, but I want to point out that the service access hose right here, this is good if you have to charge up the unit or do some testing. You wouldn't want to have the main return panel down here off and you bringing in outside air. You wouldn't get your right pressures and temperatures when you're charging up the unit if you had a leak or something like that. So this service access hole is very important. Also, it has a main viewport here on the control panel, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. Again, this is what the unit looks like. Here you can see what the the cooling chassis has been moved out. Okay, I'm going to take a moment to read the questions. Yes, the question was, when the 90%er comes out, will we have to, will the dimensions be the same? That's yet to be determined. We don't have any information from the manufacturer, but the question was, do these have to comply with the new May of 2013 law? And yes, they do. They do have to comply. So as we get more information from National Comfort Products, we will send that out to everybody, and it'll be on their website also. Furnace section. The furnace section has a patented long life aluminized steel heat exchanger. It is a Resner design. It is a clamshell design, which we'll see a picture of it in just a second here. It's a single burner, so no in-shot burners or no burner ports, and it's not a tubular assembly. It's a clamshell, so there's less moving parts, less working parts. An integrated circuit board with fan relay, adjustable fan delay, and diagnostic indicator lights, direct spark ignition, and the venter motor has 3-point isolation for quiet operation. It does use the latest heat exchanger technology, and like I said, this is a Resner design, so it's been proven many, many times. It has a quiet fire combustion system, which would be very, very handy if, because obviously this is pretty close to the living space, so you in-shot burners can tend to be very noisy. It's highly resistant to corrosion condensate drain for reasons I'll show you in the next slide. But a lot of times, some of one of the biggest problems with some of these package units is that they have corrosion in the heat exchangers when the outside air starts to condense in the heat exchanger. And NCP has a unique little feature that eliminates that. Freeze-resistant inducer motors, sight glass for diagnostic lights and flame lighter, which I pointed out in a few slides before. A larger access opening to controls, which I'll show you in another slide. Less working parts, and a 10-year warranty on the heat exchanger. Here is the picture of the heat exchanger. It is a clamshell, and it is a serpentine heat exchanger, and aluminized steel. But I was talking about the condensate drain. Is that right down here, right where the tube or the clamshell is swedged or swaged to the header assembly? There's a drain line right there, and in the summertime, this heat exchanger, the inside heat exchanger, is open to the hot, humid outside air, and if you're blowing cooling air over it, sometimes the water condenses in the heat exchanger. But that little drain right there prevents any water from collecting and corroding in there. So the heat exchanger has a very long life. This is the burner assembly. You can see the furnace side of the burner assembly here. Like I said, there's no multi-port burners or tubes to corrode. So it has one burner, and it's a very stable, very good, very quiet burner assembly. Here's the sight glass for diagnostic lights and flame. You can see that this is a large sight glass, so you can look inside there. And you can also see how wide the door is. One of the many complaints as I talk to building managers is that the door on some of the Magic Packs is a very smaller door. This is a much larger door to get in there and fix the parts that you need to be fixed. Here's a view with everything open. You can see the gas valve in back. It's a much easier placement. It's easy to get in there if that has to be changed. You can see the burner right here, and everything else, the Molex plugs right here that you can unplug if you have to remove the cooling chassis. Here's a cutaway door, or cutaway view, and you can see the large access door here, easy to get into and do any service work that you need. Here's a picture of the top. This is the junction box, gas piping, and again, this is all the same locations as the Magic Pack units, so you can use this as a direct look or a direct replacement. View of the outside here, you can see the combustion air right here. and you can see some of the condenser air and the intake air. So everything is on the outside, and it's accessible. And this one looks like it's got yeah, some nice stonework around the outside. Here's a view with just the sleeve in. So if you've never seen these being put in, this is just a view of the sleeve. And you can see the walls. The wall sleeve is usually 12 inches, but it can go out to 16.5. So if you need to stretch it out for a thicker wall, you can. Here's a unit that you see that I had this in the slide before. And again, this unit could be put, it looks like this is in maybe an outside closet or something like that. Here's a unit that has a round return. Looks like this is an indoor closet. And it has the round flex duct here, and it looks like they built a little return air box underneath, and then the supply is on top. Here's a unit that looks like it's going to have a return air box underneath it. Some people build these just a square return air box underneath. In fact, that's the way I see most of them as a support piece. But this looks like it's a typical interior unit instead of out on the patio. All right, just a little summary. The NCP units are high-quality equipment made by a top-rate manufacturer. The product is improved all the time. They got a proven track record with tens of thousands of these out there. Shorter lead times. They have a good stock in Bensalem, but we also have a good stock of the CPG and the CPE units here in our locations around Chicagoland and in other areas. We also have a stock of the condensing units, too, in the Chicagoland and other areas. They're very responsive to customers. I've talked several times with the people at the factory, with their support people and their parts people and the sales people, willing to come out here and talk about these to large contractors or large development people. So you just give us a call. But they're a smaller company. So, you know, I can talk right to the national sales manager. And like I said, National Excelsior has a full stock in Chicagoland. Please feel free to give me a call. I'm the product manager for this. My mobile phone and my email is on the slide. If you'd like to know where some of our branches are to get some pricing on this or to see one, all of our branches have one of these on the showroom floor. You can go to our website at excelsiorhvac.com, or if you want to see some of the spec sheets, National Comfort Products also has that on there. I'm just looking in the questions. I don't see any more questions, but you know how to get a hold of me. I thank you for your time. Are there any other questions? If there are, please type them in the chat box right now. Okay. Yes, I don't see another question in the chat box. Somebody said they asked two. I've answered a couple of them as we've gone along. If I didn't answer your question, please either email me or give me a call after the webinar, and I'll be happy to answer anything that I can. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with you in the near future.